an independent analysis of European defense capabilities and strategic policy.
The wake left by the carrier Cavour in the waters of the Indo-Pacific had barely settled. Yet the industrial logic of that deployment is already beginning to materialize into concrete procurement structures. The convergence of naval diplomacy and industrial ambition was solidified by the recent letter of intent. Signed between Leonardo and the Indonesian Ministry of Defense, this agreement covers the supply of 24 M-346 aircraft. Coming shortly after Fincantieri secured a contract for 2 PPA patrol vessels, this development is significant. It indicates that the concept of the Enlarged Mediterranean has transitioned. It is no longer merely a rhetorical construct used in Roman policy circles. It is becoming an operational reality, one that stretches the logistical and industrial supply lines of the Italian state, and all the way to the Strait of Malacca. It suggests that Italy is no longer merely participating in global security drills. Instead, it is actively attempting to embed its defense architecture into the force structures of key, non-aligned middle powers. From a systems perspective, the selection of the M-346 by Jakarta represents more than a transactional export success. It validates a specific doctrinal bet made by the Italian defense aerospace sector. This bet concerns the future of pilot training and light combat. The Indonesian Air Force faces a unique geographic constraint. They operate across a vast archipelago. In this context, maritime overflight is the norm rather than the exception. Here, the twin-engine configuration of the M-346 provides a redundancy factor, a factor that single-engine competitors, most notably the South Korean FA-50, physically cannot offer. This technical distinction translates into an operational advantage. It allows for safer extended-range maritime patrols, and it ensures a higher margin of survivability in engine-out scenarios. Consequently, the aircraft is being positioned not strictly as a trainer, but as a dual-role platform. Capable of conducting light attack and air policing duties, effectively bridging the gap between basic turboprop trainers and high-performance heavy fighters. This procurement also highlights the efficacy of a package-based approach to defense exports. Here, naval and aerial domains are treated as complementary market entry points. The introduction of the M-346, alongside the patrol ships, creates a rudimentary but functional ecosystem of Italian-sourced sensors. And the radar systems share industrial lineage. This potentially simplifies the logistical tail for the client. Crucially, this interoperability creates a stickiness in the defense relationship. The integration of electronic warfare libraries and maintenance cycles becomes a long-term institutional commitment for Jakarta. It moves the dynamic from a one-off purchase to a sustained dependency on the Italian industrial base, a dependency that could span a 30-year life cycle. However, this expansion into Southeast Asia places Rome in direct competition with the agile defense sectors of East Asia, particularly South Korea. The contest is effectively a clash between two distinct industrial models. The South Korean model prioritizes rapid delivery schedules, aggressive pricing, and a high willingness to transfer technology. Now, the Italian model, conversely, relies on the heritage of NATO standard integration. It emphasizes superior electronic warfare capabilities and the prestige of European aerospace engineering. The success of the M-346 in displacing the FA-50 suggests something important. It implies that for certain clients, the qualitative edge in avionics and the safety of twin-engine designs outweigh the sheer industrial velocity offered by Seoul. This success, however, introduces a significant structural tension regarding technology transfer. Indonesia has established a legal framework mandating that foreign defense contracts include significant local content. For the Italian aerospace cluster, this presents a complex trade-off. To secure the contract, the prime contractor must inevitably migrate some portion of the value chain to Indonesia, and this dilutes the immediate workload for domestic Italian factories. It raises a critical question. Is the state exporting finished goods, or is it exporting the industrial capacity to produce them? While this fosters long-term political ties, it risks creating future competitors by elevating the technical baseline of the client nation. Furthermore, the financial architecture of these deals implies a heavy reliance on the creditworthiness of the client state. Indonesia is financing its defense modernization through massive foreign loans. This mechanism introduces sovereign risk into the order book of Italian state-controlled entities. Unlike domestic orders, which are guaranteed by the multi-year planning of the Italian Ministry of Defense, these export contracts are subject to volatile political winds. A change in administration or a fiscal crisis in Jakarta could delay or cancel programs, leaving Italian industry with sunk costs in supply chain preparation. Geopolitically, Italy appears to be carving out a niche as a third-way supplier. Many nations in the Global South seek Western standard equipment to balance against Chinese influence, but they remain wary of the strict political strings attached to sales from the United States. Italy offers a strategic alternative, capable of supplying high-end, NATO interoperable hardware without the full weight of Washington's hegemonic baggage. This allows countries like Indonesia to diversify their supplier base, moving away from Russian legacy systems without becoming wholly dependent on the U.S. industrial complex. The operational strain on the Italian industrial base must also be considered. This should be viewed within the wider context of European rearmament. With facilities in Venegono and La Spezia already tasked with fulfilling domestic requirements, the addition of export orders tightens the bandwidth. There is a tangible risk of delivery bottlenecks. If export commitments collide with the urgent modernization needs of the Italian armed forces, complications will arise. If the timeline for the Indonesian delivery slips, it could damage the reputation for reliability that Rome is working to establish. Ultimately, the M-346 agreement signifies that the Italian defense industry is attempting to transcend its traditional role. It is moving beyond being a European sub-supplier. They're aiming to become a prime systems integrator on the global stage. The ability to manage the delicate balance between transferring technology and retaining intellectual property will be key, as will balancing export volume with domestic sustainment. These factors will determine whether this expansion into the Indo-Pacific is a sustainable strategic shift, or merely a temporary surge driven by opportunistic salesmanship. The center of gravity for Italian defense strategy is shifting. It requires a recalibration of how industrial capacity is measured, not just against national defense needs, but against the demands of maintaining a credible presence in the competitive markets of Asia.